Yo, what's up everyone? I wanted to talk about Sheep Wars as a new game that released on Hypixel yesterday. Sheep Wars is a Hypixel prototype game mode that consists of you being a team of 6, gathering sheep with varying qualities to eliminate the other team of 6 in a first to 3 win style format. Sheep Wars has the potential, as does any game released, to be one of the best on the network, but at its current release state and what the game currently holds, it will fall short. The sheep is the core mechanic of the game. The sheep all have different personalities that each make them a unique and are all each powerful in their own right. The sheep are healing sheep, which creates particles that circulate around the sheep that heals you over time and grants you speed 2. Earthquake sheep, which creates a 6x6 to 8x8 area. I really don't know the dimensions, but that's what it looks like by just eyeballing the dimensions, and breaks the ball in that area over time and occasionally throws you in the opposite direction you're attempting to go. Homing sheep, which when thrown in the general direction of the opponent, will home to them. If there's a block in the way, it'll hug that block and explode. Explosive sheep is your generic sheep in this game mode. It's the most common one that you get, and when thrown, whenever it makes contact with anything, it'll instantly explode. High explosive sheep is the powerhouse of all the sheep. It is a timed explosive sheep that takes about 3 to 5 seconds to explode, and it explodes a massive area. A black hole sheep slows everything in its area to a raging halt until the sheep is destroyed, and the onboarding sheep, which allows you to fly to the opposing base. All these sheep are great, unique, and just overall fun. Except the healing and earthquake sheep. The problem with these two sheep is because they just don't work. The healing sheep has very nice healing properties, but what makes the sheep bad is the unreliability that it contains. There can be some games where all you get is healing sheep and no other sheep, and then there will be some other games where you don't see a healing sheep, and then there's your opponent who's throwing a healing sheep at you because they feel bad. And because of this, it's nearly impossible to win because you just don't get heals. There's no other way to heal besides a pickup item, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Those are the two healing factors. There needs to be other ways to heal, or this game mode is going to come down to straight RNG. And that's not good for any competitive style game mode. The earthquake sheep is just fucking dog shit, dude. Like, you're straight up better off throwing explosive sheep to break the blocks that the EQ sheep breaks over time than using the earthquake sheep altogether. The earthquake sheep pushback is so unreliable. It happens maybe once every 4 seconds, maybe once every 5. And by that time, you can just kill the earthquake sheep and go on your merry way. The earthquake sheep needs a buff ASAP, or it's just going to be the most useless sheep in the entire game. The only real reason that I found to pick up the sheep in the first place is so another sheep can spawn in its place. The next thing that was noticed from playing for about an hour and a half was how unbalanced most, if not all, the pickup items are. Pickup items are the items that are not the sheep but still spawn in like the sheep areas sometimes. They give your team a power-up for a pretty short amount of time. The items include blindness, which blinds the enemies for about 10 seconds. Increase sheep speed for a period of time. Decreases the foe's sheep speed for a period of time. Poison, which gives poison 1 to the enemies for 5 seconds. A punch bow, which enchants your bow with punch 1. Health regeneration, which regenerates a certain amount of health. And explosive arrows, which, for about 10 seconds, all your arrows when they land explodes a 6x6 area. Not once, when I picked up these items, except the blindness and explosive arrows, did I feel like they helped my team's progression to a victory, or it didn't even feel like we gained any sort of advantage whatsoever. For example, the punch bow seems nice on paper, but in reality, there is no reliable way for it to assist in obtaining a kill. There's too much debris from the sheep explosions and the looming fact that the enemies are too far away to reliably make it any sort useful. This goes for the rest of the power-ups besides blindness and explosive arrows. It just doesn't feel like they assist you in any way. It honestly feels more useful to not go out of your way to pick them up and instead just sit and wait for sheep to go into your inventory. Fix the items, please. Make at least more than half of the items at least viable, or make them spawn up a lot more often, because they are not worth getting at all. Is how much this game reminds me of Wool Wars, and not in a good way. It reminds me of Wool Wars in the regards of how the game heavily relies on queuing with or into a good team. For example, in Wool Wars, you queue and you are put into a team of 4. And most of the time, that team is filled with solo queues with no real chemistry, and most, if not all the time, the other opposing team is filled with party of 2 to 4 people. Wool Wars was meant to be a competitive game mode, hence why it got its own lobby, it has its leaderboards, it has its stats. Wool Wars had the chance to be such a good game mode, but it fell so short because it couldn't become a contender for one of the best competitive modes on the network, because it didn't have any other game modes besides 4v4. If it had 1v1v1v1, 1v1, 2v2, or 2v2v2v2, literally any other game mode besides 4v4, switch up the formula, do something, revive that mode, and then you'll have a good mode. And this problem is going to happen for Sheep Wars as well. It can easily have the exact same problem. I played one game by myself, a few with one of my friends, and a lot of games with 4 friends. The game became 10 times easier simply because I was playing with people that I can communicate with. Sheep Wars can also be just as fun if it was a 1v1 mode. You increased the wins to first to 5 wins. You can solo queue without getting upset at your teammates because they're complete moron, brain dead, moronic losers, and then everything will be fine. Let me put this into another perspective just to show how imperative it is that Sheep Wars, and hopefully Wool Wars too, can get to this point. Imagine Bed Wars or Sky Wars. Imagine if Sky Wars only had the teams mode, and imagine Bed Wars only had the 4v4v4v4 mode. Would you truly think that that would be as popular as they are now if they only had those two game modes? And the reason why they are the 2 most popular games on the network is because they have a plethora of game modes. Wool Wars could have easily gotten to that status if it just simply had more stuff, more game modes to play. And Sheep Wars is going to fall into that exact same category. It just needs longevity, and it doesn't have anything. Now, if it's made to be an arcade game, then I can kind of understand what it's going with, but it's just going to fall into the same boat as Capture the Wool, where Capture the Wool had a lot of promise when it was out in release, and then it fell short because it got put in the arcade, and then games in arcade die unless you're party games or Pixel Party or Zombies. So that's the real problem with Sheep Wars. It just needs more balanced items, make the items more common, fix Earthquake, Sheep, and get more than 2 heals. And then, obviously, last but not least, it needs some sort of longevity. It has potential to be absolutely fantastic. But if it doesn't have any longevity and it gets the same Wool Wars treatment, it's going to be another mid game mode on the network. Alright, that's all I got.